Look, I'll explain it once more, okay? Now, Dracula Untold was meant to be the start of Universal's Dark Universe franchise, okay? Got that? But it failed at the box office. So then the Benicio del Toro werewolf movie was meant to be another kickstart, but that failed too, okay? And yeah, The Mummy is meant to be the basic reboot. Okay, you got that? Oh, good. Oh, no, my pleasure. Okay, bye, Mr. Spielberg. G'day Dark Realmers, it's horror author and illustrator Michael J. Elliott here with you again today. And today we're going to be reviewing the 2017 Universal movie The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise. Now, is it as bad as what the audience and the critics said? I'll let you know. Hey, if this is your first trip to the Diaries, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. And if you want to keep up with the best in horror in movies and book reviews from the world of Hollywood and indie, then hit that subscribe button and the bell notification and you'll always be on top. Okay, Dark Realmers, well, after watching this movie last night on Netflix, I can understand why people weren't enamored with it. Okay, now just to give you a little bit of background, Universal Studios was always known as the home of monsters, okay, because they're the studios that gave us Bela Lugosi, Dracula, Boris Karloff, Frankenstein, Lon Chaney, the werewolf, okay, they also gave us The Invisible Man, they gave us Creature from the Black Lagoon, The Mummy with Boris Karloff, a whole slew. So they became basically known as the home of horror or the home of the monsters, okay? And it was well-deserved title because, yeah, they just produced some of the best horror movies of the eras, and that was the 30s, 40s, and into the 50s. And Universal Studios had the idea to reboot their classic monster movies, okay, for a new generation. And I can understand why they would do that, okay? A whole new range of people, millenniums, hipsters, whatever, they want to get those people in. And they tried this, as you heard me talking to Mr. Spielberg, lovely chap, but hasn't got a clue, really. They tried that with the movie Dracula Untold, okay, which was a new take on the Dracula legend. And audiences didn't take to it. The fact that, you know, Dracula was this, you know, Transylvanian prince or whatever who basically sold his soul to gain powers to beat invading armies, okay? That just didn't go down well. Then we had a movie by Benicio del Toro, and I think he may be either Guillermo del Toro's son or brother or something like that anyway. And it was, you know, set in the same time, you know, in a sort of 18th century type, 19th century type setting, you know, the legend of the werewolf, starring Anthony Hopkins as the father. And that too just didn't work. Well, The Mummy was their third time the charm, and it didn't really work. And before I give you my pros and cons of the movie, Dark Realmers, here's a trailer for you to have a look at.
You have no idea what you have unleashed.
What the hell?
How did you get out of that plane? There's not a single scratch on your body.
You are alive because you were cursed.
Cursed? By what?
the ultimate evil. Welcome to a new world of gods and monsters.
You saw that, right? She did something to me.
The very essence of evil calls to you now.
Get her, Nick! Kick her ass! I'm scared.
It takes a monster to defeat a monster.
Oh, that's my face! That's my face! Run!
Okay, Dark Realmers. Well, Tom Cruise plays an army reconnaissance man, and his mate, who's with him, whose name eludes me for the moment. But that's their title, but they're basically just thieves. They go round and basically, just if they find antiquities, you know, when they're out scouting, they pinch them. And it's on one of these expeditions that they stumble across the unmarked tomb, underground tomb of the mummy. Now, then we cut to a scene where there's some breaking news where a tunnel is being dug under London, and during, you know, one part of the tunnel excavation, a tomb, an ancient tomb filled with the sarcophagi of, you know, crusaders, you know, ancient you know, knights is found, and this all ties in. Now, one of the first problems with the movie Dark Realmers is we have Russell Crowe, who does give a good performance in this, I must say, and he is, wait for it, Dr. Henry Jekyll. Yes, so you know that Universal were all intent on letting you know that this was going to be the next one in the franchise, along with apparently The Invisible Man starring Johnny Depp. Don't know what's happening to that at the moment. But anyway, Russell Crowe gives us a voiceover about the origins of the mummy. Now, straight away, this is just laziness, because he's telling us all about this princess, Amenet, the Egyptian princess, okay? And how evil she was, and how she killed her father and the mother and the son that was just born, that was going to take away her right to the kingdom. But she was a bitch before this. But the trouble is, because it's like, you know, a chunk of the story that is really important, we should have had that as an opening title or an opening set of scenes, okay? So that we could see Amenet, Egyptian woman, being evil, and we do see it, but it's through the narration of Dr. Jekyll, and that's wrong, because it's the equivalent, I've said time and time again, of you know show don't tell, you know, and it's basically Universal encapsulating the whole mythos of the mummy in, you know, just a capsule form, so that we can get straight into the action. Now, Tom Cruise and, you know, his mate come across, well, they don't come across, you know, she comes to the army camp, you know, the actress Annabelle Wallis, who plays an archaeologist who's fabulously gorgeous and everything, looks like she stepped off the runway and everything, and looks, I mean, not that archaeologists can't look like that, I'm not saying that, but, you know, it's eye candy, basically. And it's established that she slept with Tom, as you do, and he stole a map that actually led to this mummy's tomb. Now, when they go back and start exploring it, Tom's mate gets bitten by a camel spider, which millions of them come down, and that sort of kills him. And apparently Tom becomes the chosen one for this mummy. She, her lover is going to be reborn, and Tom basically dies and comes back to life. Okay, now that's not really a spoiler because that happens really early on in the movie Dark Realmers, but one of the problems is they've tried to inject humour into this movie between Jake and his offsider. Now, his offsider appears as a ghost and tells him, hey, you're doomed, you're cursed, you're nothing you can do with it, just suck it up, princess. And there's a scene in the ladies' bathroom where he's talking to him, and instead of it being funny, it just feels forced and it's groan-worthy, okay? There are more funny lines, in the movie, but they come at inappropriate times. Now, one of the things I found with this movie is that it's very action-orientated, which is very Tom Cruise, let's face it. But it's almost like a Mission Impossible Ethan Hawke saves the world from a mummy, not an actual mummy story. And one of the problems that with something like the mummy doesn't, as a genre, doesn't have a compelling ethos. Now, the mummy in sort of genre can be anyone. It can be a male. They had a female, obviously, so they could have, kissy scenes with Tom and Sandra. Sorry, I've forgotten her last name, who plays the mummy priestess. But it's interchangeable. It could be an Egyptian prince, it could be an Egyptian princess, it could be an Egyptian priest, it could be, a pharaoh, whatever. It's very, just add your own character here. Now, there are scares in the movie, but they're few and far between, Dark Realmers. And one of the things that really pulled me out was Tom Cruise constantly being beaten up or, like being smacked around by mummies. And, we all know action heroes, they get up and they dust themselves. Oh, I'm hurt, but then they're back in fighting. Well, the amount of physical damage Tom Cruise takes in this movie, nearly every bone in his body should be shattered, but nope, he's fine. He gets up and he keeps fighting the mummy princess, who just swats him away and breaks his leg and everything like that, and he still gets up and manages to, go toe-to-toe with her. That pulled me out of the movie because it just went beyond even movie realism, okay? And one of the, the issue I had with the movie was that it wasn't so much mummy orientated, it was Tom Cruise orientated. And that's fair enough. He is the the cursed hero who is being chosen by, Ahamet, princess woman, for to live eternally with her, because she's, got this pact with Set, the god of the underworld, so that she'll live forever and she'll rule and everything like that. But it comes at the cost of not getting enough of the actual mummy. Now, there's about a 20, maybe 15, 20-minute scene where we have Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll losing control of himself and almost turning into Dr. Hyde and Mr. Hyde, and he does, and he slips into a wonderful Cockney accent, which sort of, I kept thinking back, Michael Caine, Alfie, yeah. And he doesn't go all grotesque or that, he goes a bit pale and things like that, but that was, their attempt to say, listen, he's going to be a major part of this universe, okay, get ready for it. And it was almost like a plug for a movie that hadn't been made yet, Dark Realmers. And one thing too that I just find a little, it just pulls me out a little bit, Dark Realmers, is that, ancient evil set in a modern time just loses something. Now, you probably remember the Brendan Fraser Mummy series, and they were brilliant. They were never meant to be taken seriously. They were light-hearted, but the time setting in the early 20s, early part of the 20th century, was wonderful because it gave you that feeling. They didn't have technology to rely on. They their wits and everything. Whereas, here it's all firing the mummy with machine guns, which of course does nothing. All that sort of thing. So it did take me out like that, Dark Realmers. Now, as I said, the positive things are the special effects are quite good. But the mummy's powers seem to be limitless. She can talk to insects and control them. She can bring dust storms hurtling through London, all those sort of things. And it makes her a little bit OP. But nonetheless, Tom Cruise prevails, okay? And yeah, I can see what Universal have tried to attempt with this, Dark Realmers, and I give them credit for it. But apparently, from my research, Tom Cruise himself had a lot of say in the direction and editing and so forth like that. And that's probably why you get scenes where he's in the morgue and he comes back to life and he's in the buff because, hey, he's Tom Cruise, I'm eye candy, look at me, beefcake, okay? Which was, meant to be funny. But, this whole him coming back to life is sort of like, oh, okay, yeah, fine. And it's all sort of accepted. It's they don't go into it too much, like, oh, he's been cursed, so yeah, the only way to stop it is to kill him and so forth. And it just doesn't aim its arrows well enough to succeed. Okay, there are elements in it that are great. As I said, the mummy can be frightening when she emerges from one of the best scenes where she emerges from her tomb and two sort of SES or whatever, emergency officers are looking around this plane crash where Tom Cruise's plane has crashed, which apparently killed him, but he gave the parachute to the archaeologist and she was saved. They have their life sucked out of them by the mummy, which, starts putting flesh on her bones, but it turns them into mummies. That was quite good because of the lighting and everything like that. But then the other scenes where she's chained up and Russell Crowe says, well, we've got to kill her, she's evil. And the archaeologist said, well, no, we could learn so much from her. Like she's totally evil. And you're thinking, oh, come on, woman, if you can't work out that she needs to be put down, then, you're not going to get a first-hand account of Egypt, no matter what you want. She ain't going to do that for you. Scenes like that don't seem to work, and they went on a little bit too long. Anyway, Dark Realmers, that's my review of The Mummy. Now, The Mummy is available on DVD and Blu-ray, and currently available on Netflix. So, for those of you who didn't see it at the cinema, watch it, because there are elements in it that are enjoyable. But overall, as a movie, it isn't cohesive enough to be a success. And I'm sure Universal are scratching their heads now thinking, well, what the hell are we going to do with our Dark Universe series? Because, as I've mentioned, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, that was meant to be planned. The Invisible Man, a whole slew were planned, but they really need to go back to the drawing boards and work out what is the best way to approach this. And hey, I don't know if it's maybe there's no interesting classic horror monsters anymore, or whether they've just done this in the incorrect way by taking classic monsters and setting them in current times. Okay. But anyway, Dark Realmers, that's my review. I hope you've liked it. If you've seen The Mummy, pardon me, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. And if you haven't, what would make you interested in it, okay? Are you a Tom Cruise fan by any chance? Let me know. Do you like seeing him more as an action hero or more of the star of a horror film, okay? And what do you think of classic Universal movies such as The Mummy with the wonderful, late Boris Karloff? I love reading all your comments, so let me know. So until next time, Dark Realmers, if you're going to go examining ancient Egyptian ruins, well, remember what I always state. Keep your flashlight with you and stay in the light. Bye for now.